Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Tough Tony here, and of course you know why I'm here, because if you've seen last night, WWE had their Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now going into this, of course, I was a little apprehensive because you know it is Extreme Rules. I know the day before, ECW had a reunion show down at the Armory here in Philadelphia. I couldn't go to that, unfortunately, but when it rolls around back here in June, I'll probably go to that one. You know, shit happened, so I was kind of upset that I wasn't able to go. But it was ECW, and everyone knows I'm not really into ECW all like that. But if it was Ring of Honor, I'd be fucking pissed that I wasn't able to make it. But this Extreme Rules, I mean, if memory serves me correctly, I think this is like the very first pay-per-view I ever reviewed was an Extreme Rules. I don't know, I have to look through all my videos to find out, but I think that's what it was. So, of course, you know, Extreme Rules is, speaking of ECW, ECW has had Extreme Rules since its inception. WWE got a hold of it and pissed and shitted and raped and pillaged the entire word of Extreme Rules. So maybe WWE can bring it back with a little bit of dignity last night. Alright, the first match on the card was Randy Orton and Kane in a Falls Count Anywhere match. It's just me, but I said I was going to make a video on how I do not like Randy Orton and how the company treats Randy Orton. I'll can probably make that one tomorrow or so. But, of course, if you've been watching SmackDown, I was only watching on highlights. That's the only time I ever watched SmackDown. That lead pipe came into play about 30 seconds, and they done a lot of, about 70% of this match or 80% of this match was backstage. There were drinks being thrown all over each other. Randy Orton hit a magnificent drop kick on Kane. They went to the back and Zack Ryder attacked Kane. Kane easily took him out, which led to one of those Randy Orton backbreakers. Then they got back into the ring and it was Randy Orton a long time on offense. You know, he was just demolishing Kane. And then Kane managed to hit him with a chokeslam. And he was going to try to tombstone him on a chair, but Randy Orton turned that into an RKO on a chair. So Randy Orton has finally won a fucking match. I mean, I'm guessing if he was going up against Falls Count Anywhere with Wade Barrett, I'm pretty sure Wade Barrett would have lost as well. But while looking at this match, it seemed like an old school match. When I mean like old school, Randy Orton didn't seem like the veteran that he is. It seemed like this was this seems like it could have been a match that he could have had during his Evolution days. This match wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. It was like in between. Next up was a match that I have no idea why this was on a pay-per-view card. Brutus Clay versus Dolph Ziggler. And I was saying to myself, this is not going to be good. And it wasn't. You know, Jack Swagger ran his interference outside interference. He clotheslined Brutus a couple times. Dolph Ziggler ran at him. Brutus Clay knocked him off and hit him with a big splash for a win. Now, going through this, I was saying, I thought Dolph Ziggler was supposed to be, you know, the next guy to step up on Raw. I thought he was going to win me. And of course, I disagree with this at all because the guy can't draw a fucking dime and he has little to no fan base whatsoever. So it'd be just like throwing the WWE title down the toilet like they did with Sheamus the first time. But you know, that's just remains to say that, you know, WWE throws everything down the toilet. So I'm thinking, why the hell would Dolph Ziggler even be in a match with Brutus Clay? And this guy is a former US champ, former Intercontinental champ, former tag champ. You know, and this happens. It's like, when WWE wants you to take a step forward, they always have to make you take like 5 steps back. This match, I'm not even going to talk about. It was shit. Next up, you had a tables match for the Intercontinental Championship. The Big Show defending against former champ Cody Rhodes. A WrestleMania rematch, if you will. What makes it so funny is, like I always said before, how WWE never puts championship matches on television. They use that whole house show excuse for that 30 minutes. I mean, 30 days, my mistake. Well, you figure Cody Rhodes was probably one of the longest Intercontinental Championship title reigns, that besides maybe, like, I think he beat Shelton out for a long Intercontinental title reign. Or him and... last time I checked, I think Cody Rhodes held it for about 15 to 20 more days longer than Shelton Benjamin. So that's making him probably the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in a long time, I think. I have to check again. Don't quote me on it, but I know it was up there with like 200 some odd days or something. But anyway, see how Big Show defends the title at a pay-per-view. Cody Rhodes had that belt for that long and probably only defended it on television maybe 3 or 4 times. Maybe once at a pay-per-view. But yet the heel champions never defend, but the face champions defend. I never understood that whole mindset right there. I really never. So anyway, Cody Rhodes really didn't have any offense whatsoever in this match. Big Show fucking dominated the whole entire match. He came up on the ring apron. Cody Rhodes, I think, pushed him off, and he landed on a table. He didn't even go through a table. His foot went through the table. So automatically, that caused, Cody Rhodes to win the Intercontinental title. That was some bullshit right there. I mean, not that I disapprove Big Show being a Intercontinental Champion and all, but Big Show should be in main event matches. Or at least having matches that actually mean something. And Big Show chokeslammed Cody through one table. He gave him a military press off the ring into another table. So Cody Rhodes is pretty much more or less demolished. That match I really don't have much to say about that one. So far, not really anything to write home about. But then we had this diamond in the rough. The 2 out of 3 falls match for the World Heavyweight Championships between Daniel Bryan and Sheamus. We all know the whole 18-second shit that happened at WrestleMania. I will go on record and say this. Daniel Bryan's a great technical wrestler. If you've seen him in the independents and all that kind of stuff, you would know what Daniel Bryan is capable of in the ring. And I wish WWE would let him showcase it more like he did in this match. And I will have to say that since Daniel Bryan's been in the WWE, I will have to go on record and say this is probably the best match he's wrestled since he wrestled The Miz for the US title. This is probably his best match. Hell, this is Sheamus's best match. Because Sheamus, always, how you have one-hit wonders in music? I always call Sheamus a one sneak attack. What the hell? I made the term last night when I was making my notes. What I called him the cheap shot wonder, because it seems like Sheamus always wins with a cheap shot in every single match. But this was, like I said, this is the best match for both of them. If you seen it last night, you would have been impressed. This was, words cannot describe. This was probably a show stealer match out of these two, because Daniel Bryan finally had a serious match. Sheamus finally had a serious match. Daniel Bryan, for the first fall, he really was taking Sheamus with those technical wrestling moves and all that. It was that Daniel actually had Sheamus reeling for at least 80% of this entire match. He ended up getting himself disqualified with multiple kicks to that shoulder that left shoulder, which Daniel Bryan was working on all night long. Then afterwards, Sheamus, he put Sheamus in the S lock, formerly known as the LaBelle lock. I guess it's short for snap lock. I don't know. As you know, in Ring of Honor, his term was tap or snap. And Sheamus passed out. So all the EMTs came down and asked Sheamus if he wanted to continue. Of course, this should have been a forfeit right then and there. He hit Daniel Bryan with a cheap brogue kick, as usual, which I thought it was going to be over. But Daniel, to my surprise, kicked out. And the match went on for maybe another 5 or 6 minutes after this, and Sheamus hit him with another brogue kick for the win. But this was a good match. This was definitely, if this match, I hate to say it, but at WrestleMania, the best match, and I hate to say this too, was a match involving Triple H and Undertaker. Whenever you hear me say Triple H and best match on a card in one sentence, you must know that every other match must have sucked or didn't live up to its potential. If this match was at WrestleMania, it definitely would have stole the show. it would have came very close, because it damn sure was better than Jericho and CM Punk from WrestleMania, and it sure as hell was better than Cena and The Rock. I mean, a whole year of prep and they still couldn't do that shit right. But this here, if it was any match that you needed to see on this card, this was the one. And I hope they let them go back and forth, because I'd rather have Daniel Bryan and Sheamus go at it if they had matches of that caliber than seeing Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio, who is probably the most unworthiest person on the card to get a fucking title shot. Next up, you had Ryback. I believe Ryback is Skip Sheffield. I think he is, but don't, like I said, I could be wrong and that make me sound like an idiot. But people was chanting Goldberg. Now keep in mind, when he came out, he was wearing a one-piece wrestling attire like RVD. I mean, I thought it was RVD for a moment, because if you look at what he was wearing, it looked very similar to something that RVD would wear. Who only wrestles during pay-per-view. Now his match caliber is fucking crappy. And how the hell TNA got RVD and still can't draw any fucking dollars is beyond me. I'm guessing these people are out of practice anyway. Because half the people they promote for probably never even heard of ECW or of Rob Van Dam. But anyway, Ryback went on these two job guys. You know, I think their name was Matt and Mike or something like that. He pretty much fucking dominated. So I'm glad they brought Skip Sheffield back. You know, he was one of my favorite. Next to Barrett, he was probably my favorite in all of NXT. Next up, we had the Chicago Street Fight for the WWE title. CM Punk and Jericho for the rematch. What makes it so funny about these we know we have Minnesota street fights and Chicago street fights and Texas street fights and all that kind of stuff. It'd be cool if they actually had actual matches that actually, you know, different match. Like a Chicago street fight should be different than a regular street fight in certain ways. Maybe one day they'll come up with something to make it unique. But this match was very physical. It's more of a slugfest. This match, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it, because seeing the kind of drag on and on and on, it wasn't. It was better than a WrestleMania match. That's all I can say. I usually get more detail, but it really wasn't those many details to give. But it was a bunch of kicks, a bunch of weapons, a bunch of counters. Jericho tried to hit the walls. You know, he tried to hit Punk with the go to sleep. Punk countered and hit him with a go to sleep to retain his title. So it seems that, I don't know, like I said, it all depends on how they're going to treat CM Punk when they finally take the belt off of him. Then they went to a little clip of the Extreme Rules pre-show, which happened to be a U.S. title match between The Miz and Santino Marella, and Miz lost. Now, like I said before, Miz should have been Edge's replacement, but it's like he's losing to Santino Marella and he's competing for the U.S. title. It's like, well, Miz is never going to get back to his glory, so you might as well. And he lost to fucking Santino. I mean, why? This is my biggest argument. Why does Santino, Vicky Guerrero, and most of these people still have jobs, but they fire the people that can actually wrestle? Who is? You mean they fire like Davey Boy Smith's son, whatever the fuck, I forget his name. It's been so long. David Hart Smith or whatever. They fire him. They fire all the people that can wrestle. But yet Santino still has a fucking job. And not only that, he came with an eyelash of winning a world title, and he's U.S. champ. Get the fuck out of here. Beating a former WWE champion? Come on now. Another, like I said, you take a step forward, 5 steps back. Sorry about that. I kind of hit my tripod, dropped my book. So anyway, next up we had a Divas title match. Nikki Bella and Layla. Layla was a surprise. And they did the whole switcheroo thing. Layla pinned Brie Bella, but I'm pretty sure when they come on the show tonight, which I won't be watching, Eve Torres will probably come out and say, since they did the switch, Nikki Bella was never really pinned, so she's still the champ or some bullshit like that. Next up, we have probably a most disheartening type of match in the Extreme Rules match with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. This match, I can't even describe with words, because Lesnar came in there with that mixed martial arts punches and elbows to the head. And what made it so surprising that they actually let him bleed during this match. I think the WWE is trying to get back to what they used to be. You know, not the whole kiddie bullshit and, you know, Extreme Rules matches with no blood. Maybe they're getting back to their old selves, but of course, don't hold your breath. Cena had no offense. Let's put it like this. Brock Lesnar knocked him down. He suplexed him. He kicked him. He kneed him. Brock Lesnar damn near almost broke his arm. And I thought this match was going to be shit because, you know, Lesnar hasn't been in the wrestling ring for a long time. But hey, the octagon is just as good. And in some cases, people think it's better. I sure as hell do. But this match, I mean, you have to watch it to believe. I mean, Brock Lesnar... I mean, you've seen Miz beat John Cena's ass in a I Quit match, and then Cena only had like 2 moves of offense and ended up winning just like he did in this match. But Brock Lesnar took damage, but he just kept on coming. Brock Lesnar was relentless. He was a beast. And a lot of people, as much as you want to hate John Cena, you had to really feel for him during this match. Because it's like, damn, because I was saying, I'm smiling every time Cena takes damage, because you know me. But I was saying, damn, how much can Cena take? I mean, Brock Lesnar whooped his ass. He may have lost, but he bought the pain. This is all I have to say. John Cena hit him with an attitude adjustment on the steel steps for the win. I thought he was going to hit him with an STF because Lesnar did a suicide dive and landed on his knee wrong. He tried to do it again, and Cena hit him with that chain and busted him open. It's probably the same chain he used to bust him open when they went for the WWE title during Lesnar's second WWE title reign, if anyone remembers all that, because that was, of course, Cena's first main event match, and that's when he started going up against all the main event players. Cena did damn good. He did damn good in that match way back when, you know, when Cena was capable of having good matches. And in 6 years out of 7 out of a push, his matches have been shitty at best. But this was all Lesnar. I don't know if Cena's taking time off after this. I hope Lesnar still remains. I hope. But this was like, maybe he'll go up against CM Punk. Kempo Karate versus mixed martial arts should be a good matchup. Hopefully that's what they're planning on doing. But this match was just, wow. It's like, whew. But this is a good coming back for Lesnar, I have to say. And like I said, halfway through, you say, damn, how much Cena could take. Cena won. But Lesnar walked out. Cena did not look like a winner to me. He didn't. But anyway, the street fight was cool. The Chicago street fight was cool. The 2 out of 3 falls match was okay. Randy Orton fell short of the bar as usual. But between those 3 matches, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. It wasn't, I mean, it kept me interested, unlike most Extreme Rules. That's why I granted it an 8 out of 10. Well, it had a lot of crap there, but the matches the main event matches all lived up to their potential, unlike WrestleMania's main event matches. That's why I give it an 8. If they had maybe 2 or 3 more matches that were much better to watch, it probably would have been a 10. Or a 9, but I'd give it an 8 or maybe a 7.75 maybe. But this was okay. If you wouldn't be that disappointed with this one. It was actually one to watch. But this is Tough Tony. I'm signing off. Have a nice day.